Alright, hello everyone, my name is Shep, welcome back to the Butcher's Circus, and today I'm going to be quote-unquote reviewing one of the most infamous teams in the modern Butcher Circus meta that we have these days. So what team is this? Well, this is none other than the one and only, the oppressive Vestal team. So why is this team so infamous, and how good is it actually, Shepherd Doggy? So, in the tournament that we have ongoing, which I should actually mention because the grand finals and also the losers finals and all that will actually be set to the next weekend, so unfortunately the players have a life and they cannot play Butcher Circus every single day. So it will be scheduled for the next weekend. The exact time will be decided then, and I will give you a heads up before that. But out of all the times that this team has been played, it has won 14 times in the tournament, which is a huge amount. It only lost 5, so 14 to 5, and it played against itself 3 times. And, of course, I'm not going to count those towards the wins or the losses. So a 14 to 5 record is really quite good. And out of the players that usually play them, 2 of them are still in the top 4. We have 4 players left to go, 4 competitors, and we shall see how this actually goes. So I must say already that I am not the greatest expert with this team, so if I do make any mistakes, if either Silac or Tiger Fingerman are watching, then I apologize, because this is not a team that I usually play. It's not a team that you're really too likely to see me play, but I do think that it is a decent team. I think it's actually quite good. Much more than decent, honestly. It has a lot of strengths to it, which I will go over very, very shortly. So in terms of how I'm actually running the team, you have a lot of ways to run it, a lot of little, tiny little trinket changes, tiny little positional changes, tiny little ability changes. But usually you're going to see a Crusader with double stun. That's also ouch. That's unfortunate, but we can live with that. That is a bit unfortunate, but we can definitely live with that. I'm gonna go for a puncture now on the occultist, just to make sure he doesn't do any of his very, very annoying stuff. But in terms of what I'm actually bringing, just double stun on the Crusader, so I usually do. Make sure that you have those great stun chances, it's awesome. On the Shield Breaker, you actually have a lot of choices. You can straight up not run dodge trinkets on her, and this actually is really, really weird. It's what Tiger Fingerman does. He just decides to not bring any dodge trinkets, because against the stress teams, of course, it's gonna suck, because you're not gonna have any dodge for those bellows, or for those panic darts, or for those slams, like what we just witnessed. But overall, it doesn't suck that much, because when you go into the damage teams, they can't focus the Shieldbreaker down anyway, because if they try to focus her down too hard, she just drops the Serpent Sway, and then she gets a little bit of dodge, and after getting a little bit of dodge, she also gets 2 Aegis blocks, so she's going to be completely okay. Which is why I don't think you should actually run 2 dodge trinkets on her. I still have 1 dodge trinket because the monkey spell is really good. It also gives you 8 accuracy, which you really need for this team, and I've decided to just run the Red Tiara's net with it to have a little bit better pull chance onto the puncture, because we all know not getting that pull is really, really, really unfortunate. So in terms of how I actually want to proceed in winning this match, I think I'm going to stun the occultist here, and then I'm just going to drop it as a light. Even though he's already stunned, I still think it's a good idea. But yeah, that's the shield breaker. Then you have a bit of a choice as when it comes to abilities. You're always going to run Puncture, of course. You're always going to run Serpent Sway, and you're always going to run Adder's Kiss. Then you have a choice between Pierce and Expose. I'm going to be honest, both the abilities suck. Both the abilities completely suck. Neither of them is really one that you want to bring, but honestly, it's perfectly fine. I just decided to bring the Pierce, just in case the character is left at like 7 HP, then I'm pretty sure I'm still able to do enough damage. Honestly, after going for the Dazzling Light there, I think I kind of made the best misplay. I should have gone for the Abomination first, probably would have been better than just rolling for the 25. He's gonna go for the Slam though, which is definitely risky, but it does pay off, and I can still go for 50-50 here. Question is, do I go for the 50-50 there? Well, we'll see. Before I do any of that, I'm actually going to drop a Stunning Blow. But that's... oh, an 85 miss. Okay, wonderful. So in terms of the Highwayman, you also have a bit of a choice. You're always going to bring Finisher, and you're always going to bring these 4 abilities, even though you could run the Parrying Dagger and give yourself bleed chance onto the Highwayman. I feel like you really need the Wicked Slice and you really need the Point Blank Shot because he is your finisher character. It really sucks having a Highman as a finisher character. Let me be clear here. You're not gonna enjoy yourself very much if you play this way, but it is kind of a sacrifice that you have to make if you want to play this team, because it's just the way it works. If you bring a bounty hunter here, he doesn't have that strength that I'm about to mention. But before I mention that strength, let's actually go into his trinkets. You have the finisher, of course, and then you have a choice. You can either go Eagle Eye Talisman, you can go Eerie Eye, which is the one I have here because the 12 accuracy is huge. The ignore stealth is completely useless because you're already going to be using Vendetta and you already ignore stealth. But he also gives you 20% debuff skill chance, which makes sure that the Vendetta actually applies a dodge debuff on the grand majority of characters, because if you don't have it, there's a really decent chance that you don't apply the debuff, and that honestly feels quite horrible. If you don't get it like on a Jester, or on a Grave Robber, or on a Doggy, especially considering that this team doesn't have any sort of accuracy buff, so it really needs to get that dodge debuff to have any sort of accuracy. And in the Vestal, you have a choice between running the Tome of Fury and her healing trinket, or just running the Tome of Fury and the Brass Knuckles, or as you know, the Tiger Finger. I just prefer to have the double stun. Honestly, double stun is so ridiculously strong to run. It's so ridiculously overpowered. I do think the idea of going for the Divine Grace and having the healing trinket is also a possibility, but I prefer to run Judgment. I've seen this ability be absolutely devastating in the right situation, because if a character has like 6 HP, you can drop a big Judgment on them and then they feel absolutely horrible. And that's something that you want your opponent to feel when you're playing with this team. You want them to feel absolutely horrible. Because if you play into this, what can you do? Let's imagine you're a stress team. You're gonna get stunned, these two characters are going to kill you because you have a riposte, which a lot of stress teams don't like because they have AoE abilities, and you have a guard break, and you also have another skills, which a lot of stress teams don't like because they have characters that are really weak to blight, like the Man-at-Arms and Crusader, and their guarding characters like the Dog and the Man-at-Arms just don't work because Puncture exists, right? And of course you also have big heals for the stress teams, like at the end of the match you can just keep healing after heart attacks. It's really broken, but it is what this team loves doing. And I'm just maybe gonna drop a big crit here. Unfortunate ability buff kind of reducing my damage, as well as the area not really giving me too much in the way of damage, but I guess I'll just live with it. In terms of fighting damage teams, you are actually a really tough nut to crack. It looks odd because usually Vestal teams are quite susceptible to being disrupted and all that, because, oh, that's fortunate. The first turn I get a rational, it's an immediate pass. Well, that's wonderful. The RNG has not been too good. It has not been too kind, because I was gonna go for a double stun there. It was gonna be a 75. It was gonna be really fun. But sadly this game doesn't like me having fun, so I guess I'll just accept my fate for now. And why is it a tough nut to crack against those damage teams? Well, just look at the setup. You have a Crusader with 45 HP and 15 prot, so of course he's a very tanky character, really naturally tanky, and holy, this ability only does 3 to 6 damage. What is that? That's a joke is what it is. 3 to 6 damage, and it misses, of course. Pierce Valley right there. Yeah, as I was saying, these 3 abilities are good. Pierce and Expose are trash, just absolute trash. But I have to use them anyway if I want to win this, so we'll just try and use them. But yeah, Crusader, very tanky character. You have a Shieldbreaker, which against damage teams is borderline impossible to focus down because of that Serpent Sway. Even if you keep hitting her, which you probably won't because she's gonna have like 50 dodge or 65 dodge. Even if you do keep hitting her, she still gets 2 Aegis blocks, and you still have 2 healers, so it's extremely difficult to deal with that. And the Highman has a riposte, so he's not exactly the easiest character to focus down because of that riposte. Now, in terms of what the hell I want to do here, this is really an unfortunate situation to be in, because I kind of want to go for this, but I also kind of don't, because I wanted to wait for a turn and then go for the stun, but I can't if I do that. If I do that, I have to waste another of my actions, which I really don't want to do. It would have been really nice if I had been able to stun that Abomination in the previous round, but, you know, wishful thinking, I guess. What I will go for now is a Dazzling Light. And yeah, it's not only having 3 characters that are difficult to focus down, because, I mean, you still have the Vestal, so she won't be that hard to focus down, or so you think, because all 3 of these characters move forward with their abilities. You bring the Higher Man with his duelist advance, you bring the Shieldbreaker with her Pierce and her Puncture, you bring the Crusader with his Holy Lance, and even if you try pulling the Vessel, what's gonna happen is the Higher Man's just going to duelist advance, and the Shieldbreaker is just gonna go for a Puncture. The Crusader is usually in position 1 right at the start, so you can still drop your stunning blows. But Champ, if they just keep pulling you and you keep using those subpar abilities, oh, they're not subpar, they're really not subpar at all, they're like really powerful abilities. So overall it just sucks playing into them, which is really what you want. Now, in terms of what I want these freaking characters to actually do some damage, so I'm going to heal the Shieldbreaker here. Even though it looks odd, I'm going to heal the Shieldbreaker to get rid of her damage debuff, and now I know that the Pierce does enough damage. If my opponent doesn't heal here, I will pierce them into a death blow, which is absolutely what I want to do. And even though this team had a lot of protection and a lot of battle debuffs, and even though I got a little bit unlucky, we are still doing quite well for ourselves here. The Crusader actually manages to resist the push, which is quite nice. And now I can start going aggressive again. The Pierce does just enough damage, so if I had an exposed there, it really wouldn't have been sufficient. This is why I like the Pierce. Even though I said I don't play this team, I've watched enough of this team. I've had to commentate. How many matches were it? 14 wins, 4 losses. Of course, not all of them were commentated on, but I had to commentate a lot of matches with this freaking team. So I have learned a thing or two about it, right? And I think it's definitely a very meta and a very unique team. More on the unique side. It's also very meta, but it's just so unique because it doesn't have Mark as a win condition, doesn't have Stress as a win condition. It's an assortment of characters you usually wouldn't expect being that powerful. Normally you'd expect something like a Crusader Bounty Hunter and an Arbalest, and you know, just all of the variations on that team. You'd expect having a Flagellant in the team. You wouldn't expect a Highwayman and a Vestal to be the most powerful teams, because usually these two are fighting for the worst character spots, right? That's usually what they're doing. They're both in the 4 worst characters. They're fighting for those spots, but in this team, they just shine, showing you the absolute powerhouse that synergy actually is in the Butcher Circus. It's what you need the most. You need to have your team have synergy with one another, and this might be just one of the most synergetic teams in the Butcher Circus. Now, I brought the Red Yaris net for a reason, and I just failed the 95 pull, so this match was really as unlucky as it gets. I'm gonna have to tell you, as unlucky as it gets. I'm gonna do a move back here. I could go for a Holy Lance, but honestly, why Holy Lance there if I can just go for a heal and just be defensive here? And even though my opponent thinks they have a chance, the truth is that they don't anymore. They sadly don't have a chance. For them, sadly for them. Very happily for me. Because even though they can keep spamming those bells, and even though I've taken a lot of stress, we saw this situation over and over again in the tournament. What happens here is that these characters and their absolute absurdity of heals with the Divine Comfort are just able to eat heart attack after heart attack and just keep healing, because you have 2 AoE healers, not just 1, you have 2, and these AoE heals are so broken. This is really the only team I know of that actually makes use of Divine Comfort being such a powerful ability. Of course, if you get really annoying act-outs, you're still gonna get screwed over a bit. But most of the time, majority of the time, the team is gonna be just fine. It's surprisingly tanky, surprisingly difficult to deal with. And, you know, the reason I wanted to pull this freaking character so I could drop an Advice on him, which is what you'd expect this team's weakness to be. Now, if you have a damage team without Arbalest, then where's your Piercing Quarrel, where's your crits for like 44, where's your damage when you actually go into the protection? Well, let's team. This is actually so funny. They both hit each other, didn't they? The Irrational hit the Higher Man, and then the Higher Man hit the Irrational back. Good job, Higher Man, hitting that Vessel back. But you know, I have 2 AoE healers, so as long as they don't screw me over again, I'll still be able to save the Vessel. And even though my opponent can go for a Bellow here, it just won't matter, because after that I'm gonna have a heart attack. Even if the Irrational passes, I'll still be able to heal the Crusader, because once again, 2 AoE healers. Another really good strength of this team is that guards don't matter. You have 4 attacking characters, so it's very difficult to defend against it. Insanely difficult. I'll misplay here. Quick. Ah, you asshole. Misplay there, clicking with the hopeless. Should go for the heals first, but oh, my Pierce is doing 2 damage. I absolutely love Pierce damage. Just wonderful. I've been trying to drop another Kiss on him to finish this match for the past 4 rounds. But first he resisted the pull, and now my Shieldbreaker won't get in position. How annoying is that? It's very annoying, let me tell you that much. Okay, he goes on the right character at the very least. With the wrong ability, once again putting my Shieldbreaker out of position, but these afflictions, okay, finally an affliction that doesn't really matter whatsoever, and I'm just going to drop a heal here. Another reason these characters are so freaking strong together is because of how much of a snowball they can make. This is one of the most snowball-heavy teams. Having those AoE healers, having those stuns, and also having a character like the Shieldbreaker for the end of the match, because she's honestly really strong at the end of the match. Unless there's stuns on the enemy side, unless there's, you know, these two on the enemy side, she's really difficult to focus on into her Serpent, and just a very strong character overall. So I'm gonna go for the heal here first, and once again, after a heart attack, you know, other teams might suffer with this, something like the Halo comp, something like WD would maybe suffer in this sort of situation. The Bellows might just catch up to them. Their Crusader might pass their turn and then you only have one single heal, but having two AoE healers, oh, it's so broken, it's so much fun. Please, let me Adder's Kiss! Why are they trolling me so hard? These freaking characters! Let me get rid of this Man-at-Arms. This is torture. My opponent thinks they can win because of the freaking act-outs. I'm getting so unlucky this match, it's uncanny. Okay, they're gonna drop yet another Bellow. They still believe, but I'm gonna have to have an irrational pass or an irrational self-hit, and you know, I just have to get really unlucky here to lose, but it doesn't look like that's happening, because even though they can just keep spamming the Bellows, they have to do like 3 Bellows to bring me down to 0, and please, oh my god, stop doing that! Let me add their skills, man! This is so annoying. But yeah, even though he can keep spamming Bellows, he can't kill me immediately after the first Bellow, even if neither of my AoE heals work. He has to do like 3 Bellows to actually get me down after a heart attack. Well, no, he has to do the Bellow for the heart attack, then he has to do another 2, right? After the heart attack. So you aren't going to realistically pass 2 turns in a row. That does happen, but realistically, it's not too likely. And she passed this again! Why can't I use the Adder's Kiss? Because this is your only duty tool. This is really pretty much your only way of dealing with these high protection teams. It's the fact that you still have a shield breaker. I mean, your other characters can stun, and stuns are really fun, you know, stuns with the Adder's Kiss. Most people love not playing the Butcher Circus, that's why everyone loves playing stuns. But it really is unfortunate how my characters just refuse to cooperate with me and don't actually want me to win this match. This Shieldbreaker, I've been trying for how many turns to apply the freaking Adder's Kiss? I don't know. I probably should have skipped all this so long, but maybe my opponent has a chance here. This is why you never surrender with your stress teams, even when you're playing against Suppressive Vassal, because you never know. You never know. Sometimes you get really lucky, and this might be the case here. Okay, are we gonna get an act out? Rational? There's nothing. And there's nothing. And once again, even though I just took a massive, like, 3 heart attacks, it doesn't matter. The characters are just fine. And you might be wondering, oh please. Okay, she self-marks. Finally an act out, that doesn't matter, but I mean, at this point I don't even need the Adder's Kiss anymore, but you might be wondering, well, what if they have Zealous and that sort of stuff? Well, by that point you probably would have dropped an Adder's Kiss on them. You would have dropped a lot of stuns on their Crusader, because Zealous here would kind of destroy this team, but you'd pull the characters behind the Crusader. There's so many things you can do, there's so much counterplay. Usually it's like some sort of teams really feel kind of weak in terms of how much counterplay they have, but in this one you have repulse, you have pulls, you have stuns, you have a lot of healing capabilities, you have a lot of good buttons to click, which is really what you want in a team, and it has a lot of dynamics and it has a lot of counterplay potential, which is really quite nice. So let's go for match number 2 with it. Alright, and here we are straight into a match number 2, this time against Train Surfer, and this seems to be kinda like an Oppressive Vessel. It's very similar, there's 3 of the same characters, but it's an Occultist instead of a Shieldbreaker. There's definitely an interesting thing that they have. It's also a Vessel position too, with Gleaming Breastplate, and also a Crusader with Exotic Snuff, and they go immediately into the 50 dodge character. I mean, they do have Fleshbound Grimoire and Eerie Eye, but this is what I've been saying about Vulnerability X for ages. This thing needs a buff. 110 base accuracy is not enough for these dodge characters that are running around with 50 dodge, 40 dodge, 60 dodge, 70 dodge. This ability needs more accuracy. This is the anti-dodge ability. It should do more than what it currently does, but, you know, such is the way of the Butcher Circus. Now, before a block of light or a stun comes down, I'm going to stun my opponent, so I am taking the tempo here, and most likely I'm going to be dropping a puncture on the Circus, but before that happens, I'm going to be dropping a stun on the Vessel, because I don't want to be stunned myself. So they're going to drop the Vendetta now, they do get the debuff, the Shieldbreaker sadly is stuck at 30 debuff resistance, so she can never ever actually resist the debuffs from the enemy Highwaymans. But my opponent has just lost after turn 0, so sorry, not sorry. You are also running with a Crusader and a Vessel, but you did get to go first, but they decided not to go for any of the stuns. And their Vessel is in a very stunnable position, while my Vessel is in a perfectly okay position. So all I have to do now is just pull the Occultist, kind of bully him. I wonder if I still go for a Vendetta, or if I just do something else here. I probably still Vendetta now, right? I think I Vendetta here. The biggest reason is that I want the debuff, but you know, even with the Eerie Eye and even with the extra debuff chance that the Vendetta usually has compared to other abilities, I somehow still don't do enough damage, because such is the way of the Butcher's Circus. But Shep, he only has 15 dodge, why do you want to deal with 15 dodge? Well, you did see an 85% stun miss the previous match, so it could also happen on this one, but thankfully it doesn't, and the Occultist does get stunned here. So I wonder if my opponent's gonna go for a preemptive heal. That's a possibility, but we're probably just gonna go for a stun now on my Herman. I could have gone for a Duelist Advance first into the Occultist. That was a possibility, but I just prefer to stun him here. I don't want to be dealing with his BS. I don't like dealing with Occultist BS. We're gonna go for my Crusader instead, which I honestly have to think it's a mistake, right? It has to be a mistake. There's a few things I can do here. I can Adder's Kiss, which has a big chance of just being bad, or I can go for this, and now the Occultist is at this door, stunned, and they've already used their healing turns. Used or passed their healing turns, and now there's really not too much they can do. They can do that, which is actually very good for me, because now I can drop the stun and also potentially get the stun, even if I don't get the death blow. But Shep, you have a finisher character, just go for the finish him. No, I don't have finish him, I have Wicked Slice, which, in all honesty, is one of the most unreliable finishing abilities ever. It has a 70% chance, and it just loves to whiff. I absolutely adore how much this thing loves to whiff, yeah, it's just amazing. They have Pistol Shot. What are they doing with Pistol Shot? That's the worst ability in the Butcher's Circus. Is it, Shep? Isn't it Crush? Or maybe even... what's worse than Crush? Something that the Hellion has. Her abilities aren't that bad, actually. I mean, Bleed Out's... no, Bleed Out's decent. Can crit for a lot, if you're really lucky. I guess Breakthrough is horrible, but at least you can apply a lot of Eerie Eye. I mean, not Eerie Eye, Hemlock Blight with it, so I guess it's not that horrible. What else would be worse? Well, I mean, my opponent just surrenders here, so we're gonna go for match number 3. I guess Crush? Crush sucks. Alright, and here we go, straight into a match number 3. I say here we go and alright, but it actually took me like 15 minutes. I was trying to find someone to play with. Someone more competent than the previous opponents, but sadly no one in the Discord server was really that available, so I just went to the ladder again. However, this time I'm playing against Stevie, which I'm pretty sure I've played against before, and they're playing the Kalashnikov comp, which I wonder how well it does into this team. We'll see how well it does. It should do relatively well, especially if it goes first. So I am quite excited to see the outcome of this match. Now I am going to start off with the Duelist Advance, even though I could be going for pulls, even though I could be going for other stuff. I'm going to do this first, just to make sure that the doggy doesn't get a free Hound's Harry. I don't think it would be too much fun to give him a Hound's Harry for free, especially considering that they got a very nice slam right off at the start. Even not having the move chance trinket, still getting a push on my Crusader, which is really unfortunate, but we just do that and enjoy ourselves. Now, if they want to do that, I might break a few rules here and go for the doggy instead of the Occultist. It's difficult to say. Oh, it's difficult to say. Do I go for the doggy or the Occultist? I have to go for both of them, let's be honest, but considering how much damage the doggy has taken, probably the doggy, right? Yeah, let's go for the doggy. Let's just go for him. I only do 3 damage with the puncture, which really is a joke. It would be very nice to have a stunning blow to drop on him now, but I'll just have to drop it on the Occultist instead, which isn't the end of the world, but it's also not really helping me all that much. At least not immediately. That pool is massive, actually. That's really gonna suck. But I guess I'll just go for a stun. But not now. and not on the character you're expecting. I'm gonna go for Stun the Abomination. If you stun the doggy here, you're just wasting one of your own turns because he doesn't want to do anything anyway. He can't self-heal. If he guards, it's probably not going to do too much, and he also can't go Hanseri. I mean, he can, but it's not too ideal to go Hanseri right now because my characters still have the plus 15 dodge from round 1, you have no command buff, so it feels terrible, and I also have a riposte that is very accurate because the Eerie Eye and the crit, so my accuracy right now is at plus 22 onto the 85, so it is very likely that I'm going to hit you with a riposte, which won't really drop you to Death's Door, but also won't really hurt. And their best move is to go for the pass. Why? Why do they pass here? Well, the reason they pass is if they move back, they get hit with a Holy Lance, and then they're at Death's Door, right? So that's not what you want. But if they harry, they are also closer to Death's Door. But if they guard, then I hit the Holy Lance into the character they're guarding, and then they still get brought down to 0 HP, right, because of the Holy Lance. So they were really stuck between a rock and a hard stone there, so I kind of just got 2 stuns out of my vessel, pretty much, which really is quite good in this situation. Now, one thing that must happen here is I must get rid of this Occultist. This Occultist really needs to go. But before the Occultist goes, I need to get rid of the Houndmaster. Now, sadly here, I am not in a fantastic position to hit the Houndmaster, so I am going to... There's a few things I can do here. I can try focusing the Abomination down, that is a possibility, and I actually think that would have been the better move. So it's really unfortunate that I didn't go for it, but I'm just going to go for the pull on the Occultist now that I've already clicked the Shieldbreaker. I feel like going for a Holy Lance onto the Abomination, there was a very decent chance it would do 18 damage, and then the Occultist could have healed, but it would be very likely that my Pierce would do enough, and then we could have potentially had gotten a kill there. Now, sadly, that didn't happen, but I can still make it happen. I can go for a Holy Lance on either of these characters, but oh, he did get a crit. God damn, that's so unfortunate. That means we should stun here. That means we should stun before he gets a big heal off. So let's do this. Make sure he doesn't get his heal. And after this, we get to Holy Lance and potentially get a death blow with an unfortunate duelist advance. We will have to go for the duelist advance here. Oh no, we do have a Vendetta. We might be able to get a Vendetta death blow. Oh, that would be just lovely. That would be just lovely. So here's a problem. I have a battle debuff on me, meaning that I only do 11 to 17 damage. So I'm never going to do enough here unless I crit. It is a 75 hit chance, it's quite likely. Oh, nice. 75 hit chance. What was the damage, like 11 to 17 on him? So very decent chance of actually doing enough if we did hit, and we do in fact, and now we get to drop the Vendetta, which is going to be a 50-50 death blow against the Kalashnikov while going second. Awesome. Not only that, the Occultist is also in position 1, and this is just straight up oppressive Vestal domination, because usually the Kalashnikov comp is going to do well into everything that doesn't have Flagellant, but in this situation I have ripostes, I have pulls for the Occultist, I have an absolute absurd amount of stuns, and the longer the match goes on, the worse it gets, because I am almost guaranteed to get a kill or two, and then I still have a Vestal with Divine Comfort and a Crusader with Rally to the Flame, so whatever you do, your life just really becomes quite hellish here if you are my opponent. So right now there's a few things they can do. What I will go for though is just a duelist advance onto this Occultist just to do a little bit of damage. He's my highest damage character right now, so I'm just gonna do that. Hope that it works. Sadly I don't really do quite enough. He's gonna go for his turn now. I wonder if he goes for a preemptive heal. It's generally not a bad idea here because you really need the HP. If you don't go for the HP, you're kind of screwed, and they are gonna go for the Weakening Curse. But now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Watch it shine. Watch it shine. The Judgment. 5 to 9 damage. It does 6 damage and brings the Occultist down to 0, meaning that now my opponent is going to lose their Occultist as well. And this is just oppressive Vessel domination. You can see how annoying this team is to play against. It is one of the most annoying teams to play into, and for good reason. It's so powerful, it's so strong, has so many positives to it. It also has downsides, like not really having tools to deal with dodge, of course. I mean, it has a Vendetta, but it's really not enough. The characters have genuinely decent accuracies, like the Shieldbreaker not so much, but Puncture very nice accuracy. The Highman is very nice accuracy with this setup, as well as the Vendetta. You can also get rid of like 1 dodge character if you're only into 3. The Crusader has okay-ish accuracy values. It's pretty much just WD accuracy, and the Vessel is up at 115, but it's still not wonderful. Now, my Shieldbreaker will be going abusive here, but I honestly don't mind it all that much. I think I'm very likely to just get a death blow here, but before going for the death blow, I will instead go for the stunning blow onto this Abomination, just to make sure that the battle debuffs don't hinder my damage too much. I would still like to hurt the Abomination before this goes down, and now the plan is pretty simple. I'm just gonna go for the death blow here with the Wicked Slice, and it's gonna be an 85 to get the death blow. And after that, I'm gonna go for a double stun onto the Abomination, because it's still gonna be a 75 with the 2 stun trinkets, and it's essentially just over. It was honestly over the moment my opponent passed with the doggy. The moment that happened, it was pretty much over. Just how this team works, It's so punishing to play into it. Really feels quite dreadful, because sometimes you're gonna get lucky, and you're going to be able to kill one of their characters early, which is really what you need to do. You need to kill one of their characters to make sure they can't snowball quite as hard. That's really difficult to do with the strength teams, of course. With the damage teams, it is possible, but they have a lot of damage tools, and it's like early damage tools. You don't have to set up with Mark, you just... I mean, you also have to set up with Vendetta, but it's a little bit weird in the way that it works. So here I do 4 to 8, but I have a missed chance. I just go for the 5 to 9, honestly. Just go for the 5 to 9 here, get rid of the Abomination. Even though I've taken a decent amount of stress, it's definitely... the amount of stress I've taken is definitely not worth... not worth 2 kills, and pretty much 2 kills and a half here. If they click here, I'm just gonna go for a Puncture, and I imagine I do enough damage with the Puncture. I probably should have checked at the previous match. The reason I think I do enough damage... She said, wake up, Crusader. The reason I think I do enough damage is because I did go abusive, so yes, thankfully I do enough here. And the Abomination is now at the store, and Guard broken, so this is really one of... There's not too many teams that actually make use of the Shieldbreaker, and she's honestly not a great character. She has some massive weaknesses, but she also has some massive strengths, and these massive strengths are being so ridiculously annoying. These 2 abilities are so annoying to deal with. If you have a damage team and you have to play against Serpent Sway, it just feels horrible. Just absolutely horrible is the only way I can describe it. You do not want to play against Shieldbreaker's Serpent Sway. It just feels terrible. And if you have a team that's like focused on guarding a character, it's legit not going to work. She can puncture from any position into any position, break the guard, and also pull your character while also doing a relatively decent amount of damage. It's overall just so horrible to play into, and you know, it is just a team I'm playing with today, so it looks like really the teams that are the strongest in the Witcher Circus are the ones you don't want to play against. You could have guessed right. The strongest teams are the most annoying to play into, yeah. And it's why people don't really like the Oppressive Vestal. It's not like the Immortal Musketeer where it makes you suffer. Also, that was a terrible decision to move forward there. I think they just want to finish the match faster, but if you want to finish the match faster, there's a white flag right there, so you can do that. It's not like the Oppressive Vessel where it just mows you down after dozens of, oh, nice stun, good job. Upon dozens of rounds. It's just, this team just mows you down over a couple rounds, and then even if you try fighting back, it will use its lead very, very efficiently with its characters, and it is just kind of what it does. And unlike Bounty Hunter and the Bounty Hunter based teams, you can't really disrupt it quite as much. Even if you pull the Vessel to position 2, she can still stun. The Arbalest can still Bola, right? But Bola isn't really that one-shot ability. And then, if that happens, the Bounty Hunter will probably be in position 4 as well, meaning that he can't hit, he can't really be that active damage tool for the team that these characters can be. Even if the Vessel's in position 1, she can still use Hand of Light all the way up to position 3. It's honestly really, really quite strong. So what I'm gonna do now is actually move back here with my Crusader, and now I'm just gonna go for an Adder's Kiss, and that's gonna be yet another Blight being dropped onto this Man at Arms. So if you're playing against this team and you think like, oh, okay, I want to counter this, right? How do I counter this? What is the hard counter to this team? I feel like there really isn't one. I haven't figured out the hard counter to it. You'd imagine protection, just bring like a crap load of protection. But no matter how much protection you bring, no matter how much stun resistance you bring, you don't have enough snuffs to go on the entire team. Even if you bring enough snuffs on the entire team, keep in mind that this is 150% stun chance, so even if you have the maximum amount of stun resistance here, you might still get stunned. There is still a possibility you get stunned. It's just such a nice game mechanic to play into, isn't it? These stuns. Yeah, they're awesome, they're awesome. So now I'm just gonna go for the death blow, and that is a very quick beatdown of the Kalashnikov comp. Just very flawless victory with this team. Sure, we did get 3 afflictions, but I mean, that's just beatdown. And you don't really need a lot of crits. Of course they help. Getting a lot of crits does help, especially with that high man. You are going to witness, after you drop the Vendetta, you're going to witness a fair few, like, crit 30 with the Wicked Slices, especially if you bring the Parrying Dagger or the Eagle Eye Talisman. I did decide to bring the Eerie Eye today. I'm not entirely sure who it is that brings this. I'm not sure if it's Tiger Fingerman or if it's Silek or if it's Sergi that brings the Eerie Eye. But I like it. I like this pick. It's gonna make sure that your Vendetta does actually work on those dodge doggies and all that. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed today's video. Please don't play this team every single match. Like, try it out for sure, but don't play it every single match. It's so annoying to play into. And it's a very, very solid damage team that actually makes use of 2 characters that you wouldn't really imagine in the Butcher Circus, and it also makes use of Reynold and Dismas, so it is quite a unique and cool one at that. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you again another time. Cheers!